So this is part B of the KhoodeelaarTV television channel, broadcasting under the banner of Baby Angel Geronimo editions. Baby Angel Geronimo is the world's bestest baby angel Geronimo. He was born in New Zealand and raised by a woman called Leo McNasty. And baby angel Geronimo was later, when he was 4 years old, was invited to join a woman called Helen MacDonald in South Gloucestershire. Now, what baby angel Geronimo has to say every time there is an update is to reaffirm the universal truth that is beyond the power and beyond the capacity of the evil ones, evil forces that control the powers, secular powers in the state of the corrupt United Kingdom. Baby angel Geronimo is the witness, like the angels, on two shoulders of every human being, witnessing every single element of every single wrong and every single right. And what baby angel Geronimo has been witnessing since arriving in the United Kingdom in 2017 in the behavior of the United Kingdom state is the accumulated evilness personified in a woman called Christian Middlemas, evilness, and a man called evil George Injustice Eustace, and a man called the congenital liar Boris Johnson, aided and abetted by criminals, evilnesses like the evil son of Dominic Lawson, Nigel Lyson's son, Dominic Lyson, and the midget, so-called editor of the Private Lie satirical magazine, Ian Pissoff. And within them, between them, around them, hundreds of outlets across England where they have been repeating the lies conceived by the evilness Christian Middlemas and her co-evil ones to demonize baby angel Geronimo, falsify the truth, distort the truth about baby angel Geronimo's health and fitness, and to artificially create a scenario whereby they can say that they have been legitimized by the decisions of courts of law to have the demonization of baby angel Geronimo recorded, put on the record as true, which is absolute lies. In the Holy Quran, there is Surah Al-Isra, Ja al-haqqu wa zahaka al-batil, inna al-batila kana zahuqa. Truth has arrived and falsehood perished. Indeed, falsehood is doomed to perish. No matter what amount of lies Boris Johnson has perpetrated, George evilness Eustace has perpetrated, Christian evilness Middlemas has perpetrated, the truth about their lying intentions are there on the records, and they will be there for the ultimate event, the day of judgment, when these evilnesses will be dealt accordingly. The punishment that they deserve based on their evilness, the punishment that they deserve for following the challenge the Satan issued to God. All the things that keep the universe alive and going, and the planet Earth going and alive, all the attributes, all the qualities that make the planet Earth produce plants, flowers, vegetables, minerals, all these things that keep lives going. All these qualities have been blessings given by God for the creatures that have been put on the earth, on the planet Earth. And baby angel Geronimo is one of the blessings. And baby angel Geronimo knows that although he cannot speak in the way that human beings understand the verbal kind of communication, he is in communication and he is witnessing. For example, when the liars, the district judge Layton says that the baby angel Geronimo could be artificially tested to check whether he had infections of bovine tuberculosis. When Layton says that, he is committing evil, he is being evil, and he is betraying everything that goes with the description of being a judge. So Layton lied and he betrayed the most important, sacred duties going with his post and position. And then when Murray in the High Court repeated what Layton said, he did the same as Layton had done. And when Griffiths follows Murray and quotes Layton and says that although it is called a test, although it is called scientific, it need not be scientific. Need not be truthful. It can be triggered. It can be rigged. It can be falsified. And that is what they have done. They falsified every single aspect, every single stage, every single step of the way. They falsified the truth of this health, the state of health of the baby angel Geronimo, who is the alpaca in the best health that could be found anywhere on the planet Earth. The fact that the statement issued by the Rupert Murdoch scum by Stanley Johnson in 2021, allegedly saying that he believed that Geronimo should be left alone. If Stanley Johnson was telling the truth, if Stanley Johnson was genuinely a supporter of innocence, which is what baby angel Geronimo is, then how is it that Stanley Johnson failed to repeat or update his call for the evilness of DEFRA to leave baby angel Geronimo alone? So then one statement that Stanley Johnson made. Let's check what date he made the statement. Now here is the item that the Daily Mirror online still has online. It's 9th of August 2021, updated as 15:52 UK time on the 9th of August 2021. And it's written by somebody called Lizzie Bukhan, deputy political editor. And it says Boris Johnson's father has called on the government to intervene to save Geronimo the alpaca from being put down. Stanley Johnson waded into the row over the doomed alpaca, which is due to be euthanized after testing positive twice for bovine tuberculosis. Now that is the evilness of the Daily Mirror. The Daily Mirror is repeating the lie while pretending to be saying that there is an intervention by Stanley Johnson against that lie. And this is exactly what all the items, all the so called Fleet Street media outlets did, including the Observer, including the Guardian. Well, the Guardian, as expressed in the form of the Observer at the time. And so, what they did was they said, on the one hand, that supporters like Stanley Johnson were backing Geronimo, while at the same time claiming that Geronimo tested positive twice, which is a lie. Geronimo never tested positive at all. What they did was they artificially rigged the test by injecting Geronimo with falsifying drug within the time range of the actual test sample, so that when the sample would be tested, examined, it would show the result that they wanted, not the result that a healthy, unrigged baby angel Geronimo would produce. How is it that these ignorant evilnesses posing as journalists haven't got the common basic intelligence to check logically, scientifically, the evidence independently? So this is the Daily Mirror, and the that was in August. So let's check what the Now, on the Times website, dated the 10th of August 2021, it says alpaca breeder who raised Geronimo shocked at tuberculosis death ruling. Now, that item is about the comments that Leonie Walker made, and we have mentioned quite a few times Leonie Walker's comments that she not only loved Geronimo but found him quite cheeky. Now, this actually supports the observation that creations like baby angel Geronimo are sentient. They're like human beings, they've got feelings, and they've got feelings which they cannot express because of the event that God created to save human beings from annihilation. Because when human beings die, according to the saying in Islam, they really make a noise, the crying noise, that is very shocking, and animals can hear it. But if they could express that and share that with the living human beings, that would annihilate the living human beings as well. So that is what God has done, made the animals unable to speak, unable to communicate in the way that human beings can relate to and understand and comprehend. So Leonie Walker said to the Times in August 2021 that she misses Geronimo leaving her and leaving New Zealand and going to England. And then this was a terrible shock to hear the ruling that he had been found to have bovine tuberculosis, which he didn't have. When Geronimo was tested by Leonie Walker, he tested negative, which is perfectly correct because that is the truthful result of a healthy Geronimo who is not infected by bovine tuberculosis. If you look at the history of the cruelty done by cruel peoples on the planet Earth every day, and you take the shocking injustices, for example, the injustice done to the man who was ignored, ignored for nearly 20 years while he was allowed to suffer in prison for a crime he did not commit. Imagine a single day being spent by an innocent person who is innocent but is being treated as guilty. So you multiply that a million times and you can begin to feel the injustice felt by the innocent being treated as guilty, knowingly treated as guilty. What's this man's name? So the man's name is Malkinson. Andrew Malkinson. So Andrew Malkinson spent 17 years in prison. So this is a part of the Sky News video that contains Andrew Malkinson's statement, which is absolutely truthful, and he's being generous and he's being kind, and he's not spelling out as totally the evilness that he encountered and the evilness that they tried to foist on him by asking him to make a false confession on top of the false conviction that they had already imposed on him. Now, when somebody like that, he says that he was constantly on the guard in case he got murdered by other prisoners. Imagine what baby angel Geronimo has been thinking all the time, that they have been plotting the gravest harm against him, while he, baby angel Geronimo, knows he is absolutely, perfectly innocent. When Helen MacDonald, the woman that invited baby angel Geronimo to England from New Zealand, told news media that she felt she was being harassed, she was being targeted for torture. How many people that she spoke to in the media actually thought about what she was saying? Did she just make it up? Or did she actually feel that she was being targeted for harassment and she was feeling like she was being tortured? What else could she say she was going through if it wasn't what she said she was going through, which is that she felt she was being tortured? How many millions of times has Helen MacDonald said that baby angel Geronimo is innocent, that he is not infected with bovine tuberculosis or anything else? How many times do two human beings communicating on a daily basis, how many times do they have to say the same thing before one understands what the other is saying and recognizes what the other is saying? Say, for example, the transactions that take place between human beings every day. Say in the National Health Service, for example, if the doctor or the nurse or the caring person doesn't believe what the person being cared for or the person in question is saying about what they're feeling inside in their body, what happens? There cannot be justice, there cannot be the right treatment. And here is baby angel Geronimo, who has been saying millions of times through Helen MacDonald that Geronimo is perfectly healthy. And they keep coming and they keep saying that he is not. And then she says, then let me show you that he is. And they say, we won't show you that he is healthy. That is when she asked for an independent, scientific, fresh, uninterfered with test. And they refused it. They refused it. And they refused it. And they refused it. And they are refusing it. So it's not the technicality, it's not the science that is wrong. It is the human beings who are claiming to be using science, but they are not using the science. They're misusing the science, who are doing the wrong things. They are the infected ones. They are the sick ones. They are the threat to society. They are the threat to the other beings, other creatures, other alpacas, other camelids, other animals. One of the things that came out during one period of intense kind of mentions of the behavior of Defra and other criminals was that they knew or they didn't. They knew or they didn't care whether they knew or not that baby angel Geronimo was absolutely in the best health and was not infected. They knew that. Alternatively, they didn't care whether he was in the best health or not. Because what the evilness George Eustace in Justice, was after, according to one commentary, was that the Defra had murdered, massacred, and condemned to death so many thousands of innocent other animals that if baby angel Geronimo prevailed and proved that Defra was lying about him, against him, then it was possible, it was conceivable that the people whose animals had been murdered wrongly, healthy animals had been massacred, might make claims, legal claims, against DEFRA, against the government. And if such claims were made, then they would be irresistible claims. And those claims would be irresistible because the evidence would show that the government had murdered innocent animals. And so, therefore, those animals, murders and massacres, would have to be compensated for. Damages have to be paid for. So, in order to prevent other innocent animals massacre to be accounted for by the government paying compensation to the massacred animals' human owners, they wanted to massacre, murder a perfectly healthy baby angel Geronimo. That's what they wanted to do. So they wanted to massacre a new, innocent baby angel Geronimo in order to prevent other genuine, legitimate claimants against the illegitimate, evil doing DEFRA from making the claim against evil doing DEFRA for murdering the innocent animals. So, where does Helen MacDonald go? She cannot go to the court because the courts are in the pocket of the evil doing DEFRA. What kind of country would have a court system like that? What country? It's what is called the authoritarian state, a dictatorship, where there is no real independence on the part of the judiciary. This is this is not an independent judiciary. This is a judiciary that is in the pocket of the evil state. And as Andrew Malkinson says, he was kidnapped by the state. He was kidnapped by the state just the way that the state had been plotting to kidnap the innocent baby angel Geronimo. When they say about patriotism, they say that the patriots are protected by the state. Are they? He's an innocent man, just like baby angel Geronimo is an innocent alpaca. And they kidnap Andrew Malkinson, and on top of that kidnapping, they wanted him to confess to another false statement, which would only aggravate the criminality by the kidnapping state committed against the innocent man over again. Every single argument that Helen MacDonald made about baby angel Geronimo's innocence has been absolutely true and truthful. But if the truth is a stranger to the evilness, that is the power, that is the status quo, then truth is obviously not going to have the effect that truth in justice must have. This is what has been happening. This is what has been happening about baby angel Geronimo being denied universality of justice and fairness and compassion and truth and vindication. If the evilness of the UK state through the evilness of Boris Johnson in post as Prime Minister says or issues the statement saying that despite the fact that Stanley Johnson, Boris Johnson's biological father, issued a statement backing baby angel Geronimo, despite the fact that Stanley Johnson did make the statement in August 2021, there was no reprieve. Now, what authority does anyone in the entire department called number 10 Downing Street, what authority, scientific authority, evidential authority, empirical authority, does anyone there have to make any pronouncement about what is true and what is not about the state of health of baby angel Geronimo? They don't. So, for example, revelation, the revelation made by Daisy Goodwin. Daisy Goodwin made the revelation that one of the conservative candidates to be for election as mayor at the next London mayor election had actually sexually groped her 10 years previously during a bogus meeting that he set up with her at number 10 Downing Street, where he was employed as an advisor. That was when sleazeball David Cameron was Prime Minister. So, one of the claims that she made was that the whole setup was artificially kind of rationalized by this individual who wanted Daisy Goodwin to visit number 10 Downing Street and be proximate with him so that he could physically, sexually, let's say, satisfy himself by touching her, which is what he did. But shortly after he touched her, groped her, she asked him, had he done that to her, which produced a nervous reaction in him. But what happened between the actual incident and the time that Daisy Goodwin is speaking out? Because she made it known at the time. She made it known at the time to the regime in control of the number 10 Downing Street operations. So what happened? They didn't do anything. They didn't do anything, and she was not given any apology. She was not given any other kind of compensatory response. Justice was not done. Not only was that the case, but this man who pops up as a likely candidate for election to become mayor of London has been allowed various positions, various career opportunities in the years that have passed. So, a groper, a sexual assailant who invented a lot of lies in order to create the scenario where he could get Daisy Goodwin near him, within his control, physical control, so that he could sexually exploit her. He was there. He was getting promoted. He was getting promoted to the point where he was a real threat to the people of London, becoming a mayor, actually. Because if he got selected as the mayoral candidate for the Conservative Party, it is conceivable that he could be elected as well, which is the reason why Daisy Goodwin decided to speak out. What is her statement? Let us see what she said. According to the Independent Online, this is the item dated the 11th of July 2023 at 14:42 UK time. Revealing I was groped by Daniel Korsky in number 10 was tough, but I wasn't the only woman he harassed. Exclusive. I have spent the last week feeling a mixture of righteous anger and hideous self doubt after revealing what happened to me during a meeting in Downing Street, but I had no choice but to speak out, writes Daisy Goodwin. And here is the kind of note on the Independent saying lawyers acting on behalf of Daniel Korsky asked for their client's response to these allegations to be included prominently in this article. Mr. Korsky categorically denies any allegation of inappropriate behavior towards Ms. Goodwin or any other individual. So in a comment published by the BBC, it is said by the writer Aurelia Foster. Daisy Goodwin has complained formally to the Cabinet Office about Tory London mayoral hopeful Daniel Korski. On Monday, novelist and television producer Miss Goodwin said he had groped her during a meeting at number 10 Downing Street in 2013. Speaking to BBC Radio 4's Today program, Daisy Goodwin said she had not reported the matter at the time because of the attitudes of the day. Mr. Korski categorically denies her allegations and says he is still in the race to become a mayoral candidate. Ms. Goodwin, 61, told today's Martha Carney, I didn't think to report it then because I felt, well, this is part of the rough and tumble of daily life. And I feel now when I speak out, most people believe me. She said she believed attitudes had completely changed in the decade since her encounter with Mr. Korsky. The writer and television producer who was behind the successful ITV drama Victoria explained she had faced difficulty trying to make her formal complaint to the Cabinet Office on Tuesday, struggling to get 10 Downing Street's switchboard to put her through to anyone on the phone. She said she had not complained to the Conservative Party, but was happy to do so, adding she felt entirely justified in naming Mr. Korsky 46 due to his mayoral ambitions. When she was asked by Miss Kearney whether she was sure about the alleged assault, Daisy Goodwin replied, I'm really surprised you, Martha Kearney, are asking me that. When something like this happens to you, you know it's happened to you because you were there, you felt it, you felt amazed, shocked, rather humiliated. In her article in the Times, Miss Goodwin said that Mr. Korsky, then a special advisor at number 10 Downing Street, had put his hand on her breast. Miss Goodwin said that since the article's publication, other women had contacted her with interesting stories, but added she could not provide details for legal reasons. In an interview with Talk Television on Tuesday, Mr. Korsky was asked about the possibility of further accusations, replying, to the best of my knowledge, absolutely, I don't expect anybody to come out and say anything. Downing Street described the claims against Mr. Korsky as very serious. Asked if the Prime Minister would encourage anyone with complaints against former staff members to come forward, a spokeswoman at Downing Street said, yes, of course. The spokeswoman added, the two parties are telling different stories. The proper processes should be followed and conclusions shouldn't be drawn until the processes are followed through. Daniel Karski is somebody who was born in Denmark. He is the son of Polish emigres. He was deputy head of the number 10 Downing Street policy unit between 2013 and 2016. So, after he groped Daisy Goodwin in 2013, he was there for another 3 years. A campaigner to stay in the EU, he left number 10 when David Cameron did after the Brexit referendum. He was previously worked for a think tank and as a journalist. He is a technology entrepreneur, having set up his own business providing support for companies seeking contracts in the public sector. Mr. Corse's campaign team said he welcomed any investigation and would cooperate fully. During his Talk TV interview, Mr. Korsky said, all I can say is that she is wrong. He agreed that a meeting had taken place, but dismissed the groping allegations as categorically false. untrue. Mr. Korsky said, "All I can say is that I've always tried to comport myself with the utmost respect when I have been positions of leadership." Now there is one word missing there. The word is in. I have sought to create the kind of empowering, diverse environment where everyone can feel safe and can grow in their jobs. Some Tory MP backers of Mr. Korsky have paused their support for his campaign. One of them, Children and Families Minister Claire Coutinho, said any complaint should be investigated swiftly. At the same time, this is an allegation. He's roundly denied it, she told Sky News. Now, there are other things that she says. Daniel, Daisy Goodwin, that is. And according to the Evening Standard, the Cabinet Office rejected calls from Daisy Goodwin to investigate alleged Daniel Korsky groping incident in number 10 Downing Street. So let's check what they're saying in that piece. The Cabinet Office has rejected calls from a television producer to investigate an alleged groping incident at Downing Street a decade ago. Daisy Goodwin had accused Dan Korsky of touching her breast at the end of a meeting at number 10 in 2013, prompting his withdrawal from the race to become the Tory mayoral candidate. She made a formal complaint this week after writing, oh, there is a grammatical mistake in that sentence anyway, and the mistake, I'll read that paragraph with the mistake intact. She made a formal complaint this week after writing a newspaper article naming Mr. Korsky, who was David Cameron's deputy policy chief at the time. He described the allegation as false and unproven, but said it had made it impossible for him to continue with his bid to be mayor. Miss Goodwin, whose book Victoria has become dramatized for television, said she had been told by a senior government official that she had two options: to refer the matter to police if she believed a crime had been committed, or to do nothing as Mr. Korsky no longer worked in government. There isn't a body that deals with special advisors and MPs despite serious allegations, she told the Times. Now, let's go back to what I was saying earlier about the options that Helen MacDonald had. When the judges tell lies, when the department tells lies, when the Prime Minister backs the liars, where does Helen MacDonald go? So there is a huge vacuum that dominates British state. There is no accountability and there is no justice because there is no accountability and there is no independent judiciary that actually intervenes to deliver justice because the judiciary is in the pocket of the government that is lying. Caroline Knox, the chairwoman of the Commons, that is House of Commons Equality Committee, said she believed Miss Goodwin's version of events. Caroline Knox told the Today program, there have been all sorts of questions raised as to whether she is telling the truth, whether she misremembered what happened. Women do not make mistakes when they know a man has touched their breast. Women are expected to get on with the rough and tumble of politics or get out. We need to have a zero tolerance approach to inappropriate behavior by men in politics towards women now. We have to have zero tolerance towards all people in the state making decisions about life and death of other people, about the seriousness of the impact and the influence, the effect, the consequence of their decisions. For years, they have been conspiring to do serious damage, to seriously hurt baby angel Geronimo, in the full knowledge that baby angel Geronimo is innocent, is not infected. And the judges, knowing that that has been the case, still back the lies. Just like the man who was in prison for 17 years for a crime he did not commit has said the state hijacked him. And here, in the case of baby angel Geronimo, the state has been actively, openly conspiring to do serious damage to the innocent baby angel Geronimo. And they have been harassing and making Helen MacDonald feel tortured for the basic thing that she is doing to defend baby angel Geronimo, whom she adopted as her child, as one of her children. And she's traumatized. She's traumatized with all kinds of episodes. So, where do victims of injustice, victims of harassment and torture go for justice? There is nothing that exists. There is nothing that exists in the United Kingdom state that delivers justice, just as Daisy Goodwin found out when she tried to make a complaint to the cabinet office. They obstructed her. And number 10 Downing Street actually lied by making it difficult for the switchboard to put her call through to the cabinet office. This is this is something that has happened just a few months ago. This is happening. It's not like they stopped. They haven't stopped. They're still doing it. And if you look at the actual list of things that Boris Johnson, the congenital liar, has done to deny the wrongdoings that he had himself done, you can see hundreds of incidents, hundreds of actual excuses that Boris Johnson came up with in order to hide the lies that he had perpetrated and to accuse the innocent people who had just pointed out the evidence of his lying, to accuse them of lying when in fact he is the one who's been lying consistently all along. Boris Johnson's hundreds of excuses have been turned into a website, let's say Peter Auburn. So Peter Auburn writes in The Guardian on the 23rd of May 2023, and the heading says it's 3 months ago. We know Boris Johnson is a liar, but Rishi Sunak promised truth and integrity. Where is it? It's an opinion piece by Peter Auburn. It says the former Prime Minister, that is Boris Johnson, set a shameful example, and with their apparent willingness to obfuscate and mislead, his colleagues are following it. Animal rights activists hang stuffed animals outside Downing Street this month. Now, why are they doing that? I have not seen the reason for it, but it may become clear as we read on. For all Rishi Sunak's claims to be a trustworthy Prime Minister, he is in fact in the mold of Boris Johnson. He has made misleading claims from the start of his premiership and continues to do so. Take his first Prime Minister's questions on 26th of October last year. To murmurs of approval from Conservative MPs, he told Labour's Richard Bargan, "We will always support our hard-working nurses." To drive home his support, Sunak added, "That is why, when I was Chancellor, we reintroduced the nurses' bursary." This was a misleading claim, as the new Prime Minister would have been well aware. It is true that as Chancellor, Sunak offered a new educational grant of £5,000 a year, increasing to 8,000 in some cases, for all nursing students on courses from September 2020. However, this fell significantly short of the bursary system, which had earlier been scrapped by the Conservative government. It then got worse. In the same Prime Minister's questions, Sunak told MPs that there had been a record number of new homes built in the last year. This claim was false. As a report by the due diligence website Full Fact later concluded, the most recent published data shows 173,520 new homes were completed in England in the year to June 2022, slightly down on the previous year. This false claim quickly became an important test for Sunak. His predecessor Boris Johnson made scores of such boasts, leaving them on the Hansard record even after they had been exposed as false. Had Sunak corrected his relatively minor mistakes, as both parliamentary convention and the ministerial code demands, he could have sent a powerful signal. By choosing not to do so, Sunak raises the question: does he share Johnson's contempt for integrity, even as he claims to lead a government of integrity, professionalism, and accountability at every level? The following month, Sunak made another misleading claim in the House of Commons. Let us remember one thing: we had the fastest vaccine rollout in the world because of our freedoms after leaving the European Union. In fact, the UK's vaccines were procured while still a member of the single market, and the European Medicines Agency EMA. Further, the UK's early rollout was secured by the use of Regulation 174, an EU provision allowing member states to bypass the authorization of the EMA and issue their own medicines. Sunak entered Downing Street on the back of a promise to bring an end to the apparent disregard for the truth that was a defining feature of the Johnson and Truss premierships. Sunak launched his campaign for the Tory leadership with a pledge to restore trust, rebuild the economy, and reunite the country. But his claims regarding the truth do not bear serious interrogation. I, Peter Auburn, assert this with confidence because I have been keeping a record of false claims uttered by British prime ministers ever since the Iraq War began in 2003. My fight indicated that Tony Blair's successors, Gordon Brown, David Cameron, Theresa May, were relatively honest. This is not to say they were perfect, but they were certainly not habitual and shameless liars. All this changed the moment Boris Johnson walked into Downing Street in July 2019. Sunak has surprised me. In common with almost everyone else, I thought he would represent a reversion to traditional politics after the malign chaos of Johnson and Truss. But that has not been the case. Take the promise to reduce debt, one of Sunak's five pledges at the start of 2023. Neither Sunak nor his Chancellor Jeremy Hunt plan to reduce debt, as the March budget statement made explicit. On the contrary, it appears they mean to increase debt substantially, while telling voters the opposite. According to the latest figures from the Office for Budget Responsibility, net debt stood at £2.5 trillion at the time of the budget and is projected to rise every year till 2028, by which time it will have advanced to 2.9 trillion. Sunak should be all too familiar with these numbers. One former Conservative Party communications expert told me, Peter Auburn, that reducing debt sounded better to voters. Sunak's apparent readiness to mislead on issues could send a message to cabinet subordinates to follow suit. The biggest culprit is the Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, who seems to operate in a post truth world, denying that Brexit is to blame for Dover delays and making inflammatory claims about Pakistani grooming gangs that have been proved false by her own officials. The controversy over her speeding fine is the latest test of Sunak's frequently broken promises to bring integrity back to government, and so on. So, what we have seen in the behavior of Boris Johnson, the congenital liar, in issuing the claim defiantly that the campaign to do severe damage to baby angel Geronimo would be ignored, and that the harassment program would not be abated, would not be stopped. So again we go to the saying in the Holy Quran, Ja al haq zahak al batil, innal batila kana zahuka. Eventually, the truth will come and falsehood will vanish, disappear. And that can only happen in the day of judgment. There is nothing in this world, on this planet, that remotely approximates to justice. And baby angel Geronimo is the witness to the endless quest for justice in this unjust environment created by the liars and the evil ones that are in control of the various sectors and parts and organs of the United Kingdom state. We shall stop here at 1 hour and 14 minutes or 15 minutes, and the GMT is 0105 GMT on Tuesday, the 5th of September 2023, and we shall continue updating with the witness of baby angel Geronimo as and when the updates are due by the evidence, by the